When I closed my first client, I was like, going crazy. But now that I'm managing multiple clients, sometimes you just forget, and sometimes
Sure.
you go to your client and like you don't have that same emotion
Hmm.
anymore.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm in my apartment and I'm, working at night, maybe drinking a glass of wine,
Hmm.
just chilling, and I'm really enjoying it. And I stop and I think this is amazing, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I make my own money, in
Hmm.
my terms. I have my own business, my own company,
Awesome.
and I pay for my things, I pay for my apartment, I pay for my nice things,
Hmm.
and that's when you remember to enjoy even the small things,
Hey guys, how's it going? Brad Riley here, and welcome to another student success interview. Today I have an interview with Camilo. Now, Camilo's story is crazy because just a few months ago, he jumped into my mastermind program with the final 30 bucks that he had left to his name. He was literally dead broke afterwards. Now, fast forward only a few months later, after months and months of trying previous to this, having other businesses that had failed, he is now in a position where he runs a very, very successful agency. He's 3/4 of the way to 6 figures per year. On top of that, he's just moved out into a 3-floor apartment in the nicest part and nicest area in his country, and he is literally living up his life and living his dreams that he always wanted to achieve. So this is a really fantastic interview. I highly recommend you watching to the end because Camilo covers some really fantastic tips that will help you grow your agency. Now, just before we jump into it, if you are new around here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. And if you are interested in jumping into the mastermind, it's literally $29 per month. You can cancel anytime. There's a 30-day money back guarantee, so there is zero risk whatsoever. You get full access to me as your mentor, access to my team, access to the community, the members area with hundreds of hours of content, the weekly live calls, and a bunch more. So check that out. The link is in the description. The goal is to make it the cheapest but the highest value program in the entire world. So highly recommend you check that out. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy the interview. Hey guys, how's it going? Brad Riley here, and welcome to another interview. Today I have one of my students, Camilo, with me. Thanks so much for jumping on the channel, bro.
Thanks, Brad. I'm really excited to be here. It's an honor for me. So thanks for inviting me to this interview.
Of course. Thank you so much, man. Now, I know your story is going to motivate a lot of people, and I'd love for you to kind of tell it in your own words here in a second. But just to give context to everybody who's watching, just a few months ago now, you spent the kind of last money you had, you jumped into the mentorship program, only about 30 bucks. And fast forward now, I think is about what, 4, 5, 6 months later, and you're now in a position where you're not far off 6 figures with your agency. You've transformed your life, and you've done it during a pandemic as well, which is kind of a crazy little twist on it. I'd love for you to kind of tell your story there if you can. I know it's going to motivate a lot of people, but if you can just take people back to where you were perhaps say 6 months ago and give people a little bit of insight on your journey so far.
Sure. So it's kind of crazy, actually. I'm originally from Argentina. We are in South America next to Brazil. And like I'm come from a country where, entrepreneurship is not a real thing. Like people just don't do it. And we have like a lot of flaws when it comes to financial, and economics. So it's really hard for people to start thinking about, starting a business or something like that. And yeah, I come from a city where people go to study. We have the best universities in
Sure.
that city. So what happened was that when I got out of high school, like I was prepared to be a lawyer. Like that
Sure.
was my destiny, like to be a lawyer. And I went to university for 2 years, 2 years and a half. I dropped out of that career,
Hmm.
and I started thinking I need to do something else with my life. Like this country would not help me, to have a good life. So I started testing different things. I started 3 different businesses.
Sure.
Before this one, I failed with 3 of them. So with all of them,
Yeah.
so it was kind of crazy. My parents were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you keep failing, you
Of
keep
course.
trying. And but then I discovered social media marketing, and I love the idea of having an income, just working from my computer, from my laptop. um, and I found like my ideal type of business, if you want to. And I went all in once again, and as I mentioned in the community before, I tried to get results. Like I did outreach for 8 months straight, every
Sure.
single day. I was waking up in the morning, doing cold outreach without seeing any results.
Sure.
And then I found your community. I found your mentorship. I had this idea of doing warm outreach, and I was not really familiar with it.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't know, but let's give it a try. Like I didn't have any result from the past 8 months. I need to try something new. And I didn't have any money at all. I was living with my parents. For those who doesn't know, 24 years old. So living with my parents at 24 years old. For some countries, it's a little bit crazy. Here's no a normal thing, but I wasn't comfortable with that.
Sure.
So I was broke. Fuck. I'm going to be honest here. But I had some money in my bank, and it was $30. And I said, I need to try this. I went in, I joined your community, and I start these new methods that you teach, and I adapt to it. It was something new, but I adapt to it. I try these things. And I think that 2 months after joining the community, I signed my first client, and that changed everything. Like that was a game changer for me, and it changed my life literally, because was there's one client, there's more. So
Of course.
I just
It's almost like proof of concept as well, right? It's like once you've tried it for so long at that point, and I don't know, maybe you tell me, right? But I'm assuming if you've done it for 8 months, then the additional 2 months of trying the other stuff, you're 10 months deep at that point. There has to be stuff creeping in your head where you're like, this stuff doesn't work, right? But as soon as you land that first client, proof of concept, that it works, and then you just double down on that, right?
100%. And I was like, 8 months of not getting results. I got my first client, and it was like a blessing for me. It was like this changed everything. So yeah, I was like, why I'm not, like, I doubled down on that definitely, and now I am where I am.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing, man. I think it's a real testament to you as a person, and we'll touch on this here in a minute. But the fact that you were, and we spoke briefly before this interview about your strengths, right? And you told me it's being relentless for you, and it's true, right? 10 months. Some people give up after 10 days. Some people give up after 10 hours, right? They try it for one day, 10 hours, and then they're like, this stuff doesn't work. You tried for 10 months every single day. You were relentless to not give up. And then now you're in a position where, for a lot of people, I bet there's some people who look at you and think, overnight success, right? He's moved into this three-floor apartment. He used to be broke. He's an overnight success, but they don't see the 10 months of failures and mistakes, and plus the other businesses that you've done before. But I'd love for you to talk on that a little bit, like your discipline, your consistency. How has that helped you? And then if you can touch on this a little bit more and say, like how much outreach have you been doing every day to kind of get to where you are now?
Yeah. So talking about what you mentioned before, actually, I will, like, this funny story. I was talking with a guy in the community, and I posted something in the community. I don't remember what, and he sent me a private message, and he was like, "Can you tell me a little bit more about your background? How you get here?" And I was like, "I did 8 months of cold outreach without getting results," and he was like, "What? Are you insane? Like, did you do that?" And I was like, I don't know. But yeah, I think that consistency is key. That was a really hard thing for me, because I haven't been consistent in anything in my life,
Sure.
before, not in this gym, not in school. Like I suck at that. And I trying to change my mind, because I was like, all these guys that are getting results are being consistent. That's one of the main keys here, one of the main things. And I was like, I need to put some more effort on that,
Sure.
So I stick to one routine. I start waking up early in the morning, doing my outreach in the morning, 10, 50 hours per day, and try to not break that pattern, like I try to keep that. rhythm. And I think that that's one of the main things for sure that brought me here,
For
definitely.
sure.
But again, it's one of the most, I think it's one of the hardest thing to achieve,
For sure.
um,
It's building
but it's
that
one of the
discipline,
most
right? And
important.
like consistency of just like, you almost need to create a habit of doing the outreach. And like you said, if you break that chain, right? If you decide one day to not do it, you then go into the habit of the opposite direction, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that habits are really, really important. I think that you need to try this 20 days, 21 days, maybe a month, and try to be consistent with that. And
Hmm.
once you create a habit out of that, I think that that will bring you results,
For
like
sure.
definitely. I think that that's something that most people, struggle with being
Hmm.
consistent because
Yeah.
they mentioned before they keep up. So I think that that is key. And please, if you are listening to this, being consistent because that will be key.
For sure, for sure. I completely agree. And I know what it's like. It's difficult, right? Especially when, because, in the community, and I've had, thousands of students at this point now, there are some people who come on, and I've had people who literally close a client on the first day. Some people, it's 30 days, it's 60 days. And as mentioned, I mean, it was review of the warm methods, it was actually 2 months. That the colder stuff isn't stuff that I focus too heavily on. But the point is, it's like even 2 months compared to some people who are using the exact same methods as you, close it on day one, it does make you think. It's like, it's difficult when you see these other people and you're happy for them, but when it's like, why can't this be me, right? And the only reason it could not be you is if you give up. If you stay consistent with the outreach, let's say you're not getting responses, okay, cool, other people are getting responses, so what can I do, right? Can I make tweaks and changes, and can you adapt? If you do that mixed with your consistency, there's no way that you're going to fail at that point, right? And I'm also curious to know, in those 8 months when you're sitting there and you're still doing this outreach, it must have been from, I mean, and you tell me, right, was it from a point of view of pain rather than like, I want this nice stuff, I want this lifestyle? Was it more so from a point of view, I don't want to have to go and get a normal job, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore? So did you tap more into the pain, would you say, than the pleasure aspect for you?
Yeah, I think that was a mix between two spectrums,
Sure.
pain, and I was looking to, to have some nice things as well, for
Sure.
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 But I think one was a balance between the two because I didn't want to leave this country anymore. Actually, I'm still living here, but I want to move
Sure.
to Europe,
Hmm.
and also at the same time, like I wanted the nice things. I wanted to have a nice career. I wanted to have a nice watch. I wanted
Hmm.
to, material things. That I think that I'm sorry. I think that materialistic things are not the most important things for me,
Sure.
but also like I think that motivates you a little bit.
Hmm.
But also I didn't want to go back to a normal job. I didn't want to go to college, I didn't,
Hmm.
or university. I didn't want that. That was my life, and I knew that for like since 3 years ago.
Yeah,
There's no way I can go back to that. Like
for
that's
sure.
not an option for me. So that motivates me a little bit more,
For
to
sure.
do what I do. Um, but yes, I think that in those 8 months, I think that I just wanted to get out of here. I didn't
Sure.
want to know nothing with having a regular show.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was a mix of the two, and also have a lot of ambition.
For sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's good to know, right? And it's good to tap into both of those, wanting the nice things, but also understanding more so from desperation. Like, I cannot go back and get a normal job. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be living in this country with my parents, and then tapping into that, as well as, cool, if I do well for myself, I can buy a nice watch here and there and get nice things. But what does that feel like now, knowing, because I know what it's like for me, and even after doing this for almost 4 years at this point now, I remember how badly I wanted it before. So when I even just achieved or when I initially dropped out of uni and was able to take this full time, I remember the feeling I had when I woke up that first morning thinking, God, I'm not making that much money, but damn, like I've done it, right? Like I'm running a business. I'm sitting down at my desk to handle clients. Like, what was that like for you? And what is that like for you now, I suppose, still after only really doing it full time for a few months, to know that at this point now you've crossed that barrier between being like potentially an employee to now being an entrepreneur? Like, what does that feel like when you wake up in the morning? Like, has it sunk in for you yet? Does it feel cool? Or like, where are you at? Where with that kind of
Yeah,
thing right now?
it's actually a little bit crazy because at the very beginning when I closed my first client, it was crazy. You know, it
Yeah,
was like I'm making it because I just want to mention that I know that, for example, for some other countries, closing a 1,000 client monthly retainer is like not a huge thing, maybe.
sure.
But for us here, that's like a shit ton of money, you know.
Yeah, sure,
So
sure.
when I closed my first client, I was like, I was, going crazy. But now that I'm managing multiple clients, sometimes you just forget, and sometimes
Sure.
you go to your client and like you don't have that same emotion
Hmm.
anymore.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm in my apartment and I'm, working at night, maybe drinking a glass of wine,
Hmm.
just chilling, and I'm really enjoying it. And I stop and I think this is amazing, like
Yeah, yeah.
I make my own money, in
Hmm.
my terms. I have my own business, my own company,
Awesome.
and I pay for my things, I pay for my apartment, I pay for my nice things.
Hmm.
And that's when you remember to enjoy even the small things,
Of course, yeah,
um, but yeah, sometimes you forget that, and sometimes
definitely.
I think that you need to remember to be present and to enjoy those small
Of
wins even.
of course,
uh,
yeah. Like, it's we were chatting again just before we did this interview, and you're saying how busy you are right now, and like that's a good problem, right? Like the problems you have now are like better problems than you had, say, 12 months ago. A
100%.
stressful client, or you've got too much work going on because you've got a lot of clients, that is a good problem to have that 12 months ago you would have killed to have that issue, right? So I think it's all perspective from that point of view, and it's awesome to know that you've been able to achieve that for yourself. Now, just to pivot, just a thing that I think will help a lot of people here, when it comes to quality versus quantity of outreach. Now, there's two aspects of it. Both of them work. And what I mean by this is quantity, doing a bunch of outreach, versus quality, you do less, but you do maybe send looms or videos, more personalization. Now, for you, you've kind of got a happy medium of a balance of quantity, but also quality at the same time. So if you can speak to people about that and give people some advice on your kind of opinion, I suppose, shall we say, on quality versus quantity?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, I have not a really common concept about this in the industry
Hmm.
because, at the end of the day, it will be a numbers game most of the time,
Yeah.
the outreach. But also, I try to find a balance, as you mentioned before, between being efficient and having like speed,
Yeah.
Um, but what I realized was that, okay, I can compete with everyone else out there, because when you reach out to business, there's another 15 people reaching out to
Of
them,
course. Yeah.
20 freelancer or agencies. And I was like, if I can be better, in my outreach, in my emails, if I can do better, if I can stand out a little bit
Hmm.
more, why don't do it, like I try to be as efficient as I can. I test different emails, I test different methods of outreach,
Hmm.
I make some rooms with some good copywriting in the emails till I have a really good response rate,
Hmm.
and what I was thinking was, okay, now I can stand out a little bit more, I can be a little bit more efficient, I can save myself some time because well, it used to be inconsistent, like it is not going to be the same if you need to send 30 emails to have I don't know 10 responses than if you have to send 20 emails to
Hmm.
get those 10 responses. That save you a lot of time, a
Hmm.
lot of stress, and also, as I mentioned before, you will stand out and you will have more chance to close clients. And to put an example here, last week was a little bit crazy for my agency because we were taking this new client that, as I told you before, this is a big client, multi seven-figure business,
Hmm.
and I want to make sure that I was doing the right things for my clients. I want to try to get the best results I can for them.
Hmm.
But at the same time, that was taking a lot of time for me, but at the same time, I was doing outreach, and because we are efficient, we were having a lot of responses and we were setting a lot of appointments. And I couldn't take I wasn't able to take two things at the same time. I wasn't able to take care of my clients and do the outreach and have the meetings and bring on a new client. So I was like, okay, for this week, I will slow down a little bit. I will focus on my current clients, and I will speed up again with the outreach next week.
Yeah.
I slowed down a little bit that week, and I was still setting meetings and appointments, and I was like, I can take another client and I can tell them, look, I can start working with you the next week or 10 days from now. So I was like, okay, I need to stop this. So I need to stop doing outreach actually, so my agency doesn't implode. So that's the good thing about being efficient. That's a quality problem to have.
Exactly.
And it's because we are efficient and we test a lot of different things in order to achieve that. And I think that at the end of the day, we'll be better than competing with everyone else.
For sure.
In speed and
for sure. Yeah. Well, the good thing is there as well is, this is also what a lot of people should understand is this is perfected off of months and months and months of staying consistent. So it's like they almost go hand in hand. It's like the compounding effect. It's like you've been able to craft these really good, efficient messages which get good responses that are somewhat personalized, but they don't take you 30 minutes every time you send outreach. But the reason you're able to do that is because you've tested so much consistently every day, different outreach messages, different videos, different profiles, like, changing everything up, different, case studies, testing all of that stuff to find what works. And then now you're able to be more efficient. But that's a really good problem to have, as mentioned before, right? Like, I'm also super proud of you for making sure that you're not what a lot of people do. And this was a mistake I made when I was in your position, just like kind of 6 months into my agency. There was an issue where I was like getting all these clients, and then I spent then too much time on outreach and not enough time on my current clients, and I lost a bunch of clients. So, you've done the right thing, slowing down, prioritizing current clients, lifetime value, getting them results, and then obviously being able to scale outreach up at any point. But the good thing is, that's always going to be there, right? For you, it's a tap at this point. It's like, okay, do I want more clients? Yes, cool. Let's turn the tap on, hit the outreach. And then for you now, luckily, that that's going to generate more results.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a good thing about, and this is something I always mention, that I think for me is so important, is to find a customer acquisition process that you can keep, that it works. And when you push the button, you can bring in new clients. That's like, I don't know, but I think that that's one of the most important things in my business for sure, because, as you mentioned, like if you want to bring new clients, you just, do outreach and that's it. You will set new appointments. If you know how to close the meetings, because that's really important as well. If you know how to close sales, that's it. Like it's just a process that you can repeat. And if you want to bring new clients, generate more revenue, you can do it. If you want to take care of your clients and put more systems in your agency, if you want to, you can stop with that. You can slow down a little bit and go hard again, maybe next week, next month, or whatever.
For sure. That's the power of systems, right? And also almost having your agency in a position where, in theory, if you sold it tomorrow, somebody could come in and you could be like, here are the keys, manage it, right? And it's like, for you now, I definitely know that's your next step really, is to then continue to build those systems in terms of the back end and automate, and so you can get to the next level. And I definitely think in 6 months from now, I'd love to do another interview and see where you're at. And I know what that looks like for you and what the future looks like for you and your agency. So we'll definitely have to get you back on the channel. Just a final question here then anyway, before we wrap up. Obviously, you were quite extreme of it. You lose the last $30 you had to jump into the community here. But, to anybody who's on the edge about joining the mastermind, getting access to me, the team, the community, or the training, what would you say to somebody who is like, hasn't done it yet, they haven't joined yet, but maybe they're like debating it?
They need to do it. Like they need to make that faith jump if you want to. Like they need to take that risk if you want to, because the thing is, you don't have nothing to lose. Like when you find a mentor, when you find a community, like there's nothing you can there's nothing to lose. Like you can put some about, like, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to spend those bucks on beers or whatever? Like, just put it in a mentorship, get a mentor, get a community, join this community because it's amazing. Like for me, it was life changing, you know.
Thank you.
But yeah, they need to do it definitely, because it will change their life. Because it's not just because of the methods, because of the technical things. The good thing about having a community like the one that you have is a full support 24/7. Like sometimes there's so much, there's so many messages in my Discord, you know,
Yeah.
of people just trying the community, supporting each other. You know, I think that's amazing. And also, I think that all the material that you have in there is just insane. It's just, it will blow your mind. So you need to do it. Like
Thank
definitely,
you.
there's no discussion about it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, man. You mentioned the risk there. There is no risk as well because it's 30-day money back guarantee. So if anyone's unhappy, it's like almost like if whatever, there's no, even if you don't enjoy it, if whatever reason, there's money back guarantee. So yeah, you know, if you're interested in jump in. Camilo will be there. You know, I know your DMs are open if people want to jump in and chat to you and stuff. So it'd be definitely great to see people in there. But yeah, thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate it. It's awesome to see how much the obviously community has assisted in you know, changing your life. Obviously, you know, it wouldn't have been that way if you didn't take action. You were the one that stayed consistent. You know, I can teach all the methods, I can give you the guidance, but you have to actually take action on it in order for it to work. So obviously, you know, mad respect for you for everything you've achieved. And like I said, I'd love to get you back on the channel again in a few months to do a second interview to see where you're at then. But yeah, thank you so much, man. All your links for everything, social media, and that'll be in the description. If anyone wants to drop Camilo a message, DM him, message him or whatever, the links will be down there. Yeah, thanks again so much for watching. Thank you for coming on the channel, and we'll see you next time. Okay, so there we have it. I hope you found a bunch of value in this video. As mentioned, all of Camilo's links will be in the description down below. And finally, don't forget, if you are interested in jumping into the mastermind, the link is in the description. I would love to see you there. I would love to help you without charging you an arm and a leg. The goal isn't to charge you a fortune and grow my business, but instead to help you succeed without making you spend a bunch of money on this program that's not going to get you any results. So if you want me as your mentor, you want me as your guide, you want to learn the exact same thing that I taught to Camilo to help him transform his life, I highly recommend you jump in. The link is in the description. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.